I'm going to go ahead and find the greatest common factor for a. We have 6x squared, which is actually going to be 2 times 3 times x. And then we have 10x cubed, which is 2 times 5 times x. And then we have negative 8x, which is going to be negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2 times x. So if we wanted to see what they have in common, we know that they have one set of 2's in common. So I'm going to write greatest common factor. They have one set of 2. They also have one set of x, so 2x. You notice that 3 is only on this list where 6x squared. They don't have that in common. 5, they don't have anywhere else they're in common. And so the greatest common factor is 2x. For example 5, I have 5ab, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 10a in factored form. So we have 5 times 2 times a. And you notice that they have a 5 in common, and they also have an a in common. So what you're going to do is, we're going to call this factoring out 5a, and we're left with b plus 2. So if you wanted to check, you would apply the distributive property. And so we apply the distributive property. We have 5a times b, which gives you 5ab. And then we have 5a times 2, which gives us 10a. So what we did there is we factored the greatest common factor, which was 5a, and we placed it to the side, and we had a parentheses that was left when we factored 5a, which is going to be b plus 2. For example 6, you can see that we have 5, and then we have a parentheses. We have y, and then we have a parentheses. You see that? And you can see what they have in common. They have this x plus 3 in common, and that is called the greatest common factor. That is the GCF. So that is a factor. So we're going to factor out x plus 3, and so this is going to go out, and this is going to go out, and you notice that the only thing that we have left is 5 plus y. And this is called factor by grouping. You notice that there's two groups here. There are two groups here, and we factored out x plus 3. If we look at example B, we have xy plus 2x, and then 3y plus 6. So we're going to factor by grouping, and we have x times y plus 2 times x. So the greatest common factor is x. So we factor out the x, and we're left with y plus 2. Plus, if you notice, we have 3 times y, and 6 can be expressed as 2 times 3. And you notice that the greatest common factor for that part of the expression is 3. So we're going to factor the 3, and we're left with y plus 2. If you look at the entire expression, you notice that we have y plus 2 and have y plus 2. That is the common factor. That is the GCF. So we're going to factor out y plus 2. We factor out the y plus 2, and we're left with x plus 3. And so that's how we do factoring by grouping.